3 days to go. This 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 election is almost over. It's Saturday when I'm recording this. Tuesday, when the polls close, that's it. Outside of some stray absentee ballots coming in, all the votes will be cast by then. It's been a crazy year in so many different ways. You know, I love Joe Biden like an uncle or cousin. I mean, he feels like family to me. I was devastated when he had that disastrous debate and then ended up withdrawing from the campaign. I still don't like a lot of the people who are pressuring him to get out. It may be years before I feel the same about some of those folks, and they know who they are. I think we should do the same thing to them if they ever get in trouble. But let's not go down that road right now. Um, it's a toss-up. I'm still predicting Trump is going to win by a little bit less than the popular vote, but inside the electoral college, or Harris is going to win by a landslide. I don't see it any other way. I think there's a significant chance that Harris is going to win the presidency and we're going to hold the Senate and take the House. I think that's completely possible. Um, all the signs are right for that. Uh, Women are outpacing men going to the polls significantly. Women are more interested in certain issues. Um, the economy's improving, and people are dying in hospital parking lots because they can't get the care they need. It's a crazy year. I'm also very comfortable. Harris wins Maryland somewhere around 70-30. It could go 65-35, but I'm thinking it's going to be closer to 70-30. Um, Angela Alsobrooks has far exceeded expectations. If you had asked me, could Angela beat David Trone if Trone would throw $65 million into the race? I had my doubts. I didn't want Trone to win. I didn't particularly care for him. But she far exceeded what I thought she was capable of, and I think that's exciting. And then she goes in against Hogan, who was a very popular governor, and right now she's running a 10 to 11 points ahead. I think she's going to come out closer to 15 points ahead. I think it's just an incredible thing. So um, Harris wins Maryland by a landslide. Angela wins by a smaller landslide, and I think we're going to pull out the sixth congressional district. All the indications I'm getting right now is that we still need a turnout in the sixth, but we're going to win. And outside of that, places like um, Sarah Elfreth is going to win her seat. Johnny O is going to win a seat. I mean, just, our incumbents are going to hold their places. Andy Harris, the Republican, is going to hold the first. But I think we're holding the sixth, and that's the key race right now. One of the things that I never really realized as much was how much Maryland is a southern state. Keep in mind, at the time before the Civil War, there was a strong movement in Maryland to join the Confederacy. That would have cut off Washington, D.C. It would have toppled the capital. The capital would have pulled back probably to Philadelphia or north of there. Um, but it didn't because Maryland held the line. But it was a close and contentious fight. Maryland has a long history of racial animus. I hate to use the term race hatred, but there is a degree of that as we see in Maryland, and that's always been a concern. 1966, George Mahoney won the Democratic primary for governor on a integration, on a segregation forever platform. He never wanted to let black kids into the white schools. He didn't want to integrate anything. Um, George ran on a race hate campaign. And keep in mind, it was either five, I think it was six people in the race. He only had 30 some percent of the vote in the Democratic primary, but it was enough to make him the nominee, much like when Ben Jealous won with you think 36% of the vote in the Democratic primary. That's the problem with these races where you can get things so divided up that oddball candidates can win. George Mahoney was definitely an oddball racist candidate. 2 years later, George Wallace um, did a very good showing in the presidential race in Maryland. He came back 4 years later and he won the Maryland primary, but got shot in Laurel. In other words, if you're going to talk race hatred in public, don't do it in Laurel. It could mean your life. It didn't kill George Wallace, but it was bad. The same year that Wallace was shot, Larry Hogan Sr. went to the Nixon White House and asked them to intervene with the Justice Department not to enforce segregation in Prince George's County schools. I don't want to use the N word, but let's just say Hogan Sr. did not want those people in school with white kids. It was an ugly and contentious time. Then passed by a good number of years and we get Barack Obama as president. Well, for every action, there's an equal and positive reaction. 8 years of Obama, well, actually six by the time of the 2014 primary, we end up with the state going for Larry Hogan because there's a significant number of people who were just sick of a black president and they didn't want a black governor and they turned and they voted for Larry Hogan. And racism put Hogan into the governor's mansion. He tries to make it out that he was such a moderate. Well, he was a white moderate who played the race card. That was a significant portion of his campaign. This time, Angela's going to beat him, and I feel really good about that. We don't need race haters in Maryland. Let's go on to the more pleasant subjects. Dereck Davis has got a fall happy hour coming up, and this is driving people crazy because Davis is appointed. He doesn't run for office, so he doesn't need campaign funds. This is his second fundraiser this year. And people are asking, how come Davis is running for, well, how come Davis is holding fundraisers? Is he running for something? Period. Keep in mind, if Harris wins the presidency, Governor Westmore is going to be offered a cabinet position. If he leaves to go to the cabinet, that makes Aruna Miller governor. And at that point, Brooke Lierman is going to run against her in 26 for the Democratic primary. That's going to be an ugly primary. Brooke has been preparing for this for years. And that would leave the comptroller seat open if Brooke goes for governor. At the same time, Aruna Miller has to name the next lieutenant governor, and then it's voted on by the Maryland General Assembly. So I think it's safe to say that they'll go with anybody that she picks within reason, any good Democrat, which means if she wants to put herself in a position to win the 26th Democratic primary, she really has to go with Davis. So Davis could get recruited for lieutenant governor. He could get recruited to run for comptroller if there's a vacancy. Let's just say with money in his campaign account, the world is his oyster. Plus, it's going to be a great party. If you believe in good government, if you believe in Dereck Davis, if you believe that Maryland should be that city, that shining city upon a hill, a beacon of hope to all mankind, get out and support Davis at his fundraiser. Let's also talk about Brooke a little bit. 2 years ago, Terry Lierman, Brooke's dad, went to Calvin Hawkins and tried to get his support. Calvin said no. Calvin was not a fan of white control of Prince George's County. For years, Mike Miller controlled Prince George's County, and for a good period of that time, Terry Lierman was acting straw boss on the PGC plantation. Calvin didn't want that. Now he's got Terry as a host at his fundraiser, and people are wondering, hey, Calvin, what's up? You changed your mind? You think it's time to pull in the white masters to tell the simple folk what to do? That's an ugly thought, but I sure hope it isn't what he's thinking. We don't need Terry Lierman back in control of Prince George's County. At the same time, Terry grabbed a black woman at the Afro Gala. Courtney Finklea Green was going to get her picture taken with the Ivies, and Terry forbade her because she was working for Brooke's campaign at that point. Terry forbade her to get her picture taken with the Ivies. At that point, Courtney decides to ignore him. She goes to get her picture taken. Terry grabs her, ends up grabbing her by a part of the body that would be covered by a bikini. All hell breaks loose. Poor Courtney. I understand she melted down at that point. Tears, anger, feeling violated. The people there were astounded that Terry would do such a thing at the Afro Gala. The whole room was almost completely black people. And Terry is manhandling and ordering around a black woman like she's a slave. And now Terry's throwing money at Calvin, and Calvin appears to be going for it. I think if Calvin's got any integrity, he's going to tell Terry, here's your campaign contribution back. We don't need your stinking money in Prince George's County because all this is about is Terry's trying to line up Prince George's County for his daughter when she goes for governor. And frankly, she hasn't earned it. She doesn't deserve it. It's an ugly thing. We don't need Brooke as governor, and we don't need Terry calling the shots in Prince George's County. Let's go north up to Harford County. Bob Casilli is a man of impetuous temperament. I guess that would be a fair way to say. He gets mad at people. He gets miffed. So he got mad at the tourism people and basically gutted them, tried to keep them from doing anything to raise tourism in the county. Um, that's worth about $60 million a year in tourism revenue to the county. It's a big chunk of money because, you're along 95, you got all those hotels. If you can get the people to stop in Maryland and Harford County, stay overnight or stay for a visit, go to the Chesapeake Bay, go out for dinner, spend money. It's profitable. But Bob got mad at somebody and he decided to kill the golden goose. At the same time, the school board told what they'd like in the budget, realizing they wouldn't get all of it, but they asked, they laid out what they ideally would like. Same thing with the sheriff's office. What would it take to fully staff and fully fund the sheriff's department? They knew they weren't going to get it, but they just put in a wish list. And poor Bob Casilli threw a fit. At that point, he's storming at them, claiming that, they're selfish and they're trying to take more money than they should. And he just acting like a cranky 6-year-old who needs a nap. Now, to add insult to injury, this is a terrible picture of Foxwell. I'm sorry, Lynn. It's just this was the picture I got. But Foxwell comes out and points out that, the school board and the sheriff want to be fully funded, about $60 million. And Bob Casilli is throwing away $60 million and throwing a temper tantrum. And so Foxwell shows how incredibly ridiculously silly the pouty baby Bob Casilli is. And that was one of my stories this week. It's an interesting thing. Let's go to the next part. Um, Baltimore County. Johnny O, county executive, he's going to win his congressional seat walking away. He's probably going to take 75% of the vote. Kimberly Klasick, the former dancer, she's not going anywhere. She's not running an effective campaign. She's going down. She's going down hard. She's going to get a chunk of the Trump vote, and then there's going to be Trump people who are saying, I'm not voting for a stripper. That puts Johnny in Congress with room to spare. That leaves a vacancy as county executive. Julian Jones wants it. Um, and he's running a fundraiser at Riley's Oyster uh, on the 19th. Um, at the same time, Senator Charles Sydnor has also announced that he's interested in the county executive race, and he's got uh, Mesa coming in to do a fundraiser for him. He's pushing it hard. I'm hearing from Clem Cakis that he's a very serious candidate and he's running a very aggressive campaign and he has to be taken seriously. So yes, I take Charles Sydnor III seriously. But I'm wondering, where's Izzy? You know, I used to hear a lot from Izzy. Um, and then recently, I never hear anything, or rarely. I hear 10 things about Julian for every one I hear about Izzy. It's almost like he's gone into hiding. So I couldn't help but think of where's Waldo? Well, my question is, where's Izzy? Um, Not to pick on Mary Washington, but Mary's a progressive, and you know, Republicans are so weak in much of the state that they don't really, they're not going to get arrested. Excuse me, they may get arrested. They're not going to go, they're not going to get elected in places like Baltimore and Prince George's County. You know, they just don't win races. So consequently, you see that there's a bifurcation, a split in the Democratic Party where we have a progressive wing and we have a mainstream Democrat wing. Mary did very well as a progressive when progressives were surging. Right now, progressives are decidedly unpopular. Uh, the combination of the disastrous defeat of Ben Jealous combined with um, a strong presidency from Joe Biden um, leading the moderate wing, we got perhaps the most moderate governor out of the Democratic primary with Wes Moore. Wes Moore is very definitely in the moderate mainstream Democrat camp. You can see how closely he supported President Biden and now soon to be President Harris. Um, but I notice when I'm looking through the fundraisers, the progressives are scrambling. And that's just about it for the week. I want to thank Bruce Beriano. You know, Bruce is a legend in Maryland politics. Um, he was the first lobbyist in Annapolis to go over $1 million a year in billing. He's been over $1 million a year for ages and ages. Bruce is a real champion, a really good guy. You know, he sends out a list, a monthly newsletter of major events, including fundraisers. If you're interested in that, who's having fundraisers, you probably want to get a hold of Michaela at Bruce's office and get your name on the list. Bruce is a true gentleman, and I'm sure that he would welcome that. And I use his stuff all the time. I love his newsletter. The other one is I really appreciate Rice Consulting. They got me information on Derek Davis's fundraiser. They're doing a lot of important fundraisers, and they're putting together great fundraisers where they take care of basically laying out the whole thing and they do it masterfully. So that's it for this week. I'd like to thank everybody. And I keep thinking maybe I'll do one more um, podcast before the election. I'm not sure. Let's see if anything exciting happens. But for now, this is it until Election Day. Take care.